cut the Confederate supply line because it's 5 steamboats coming from Nashville to Clarksville to Dover, back and forth, supplying the army. The railroad heads too far away over bad roads. It's all supplied by steamboat. So Forrest gets out here, and he will launch mounted charges, fight dismounted with his troops, and basically keep forcing McClernand to deploy from column of march into line of battle, just buying time. And after about 4 hours of fighting, when McClernand finally gets his artillery batteries up, which Forrest doesn't have any, he's going to dominate the field, and Forrest is going to retreat over the hills and head back into Fort Donelson. We're actually 2 miles from where the gate was at the time. The gate where you go into Fort Donelson now is not the period gate, it was down below in the valley. That was on the road into Dover. So Pillow comes up to him after he's been pushed back in. He says, okay, where are the Federals? He basically says, they're here. They're here. In other words, you moron, you gave up all of that gorgeous defensive terrain out there where we could have been kicking them in the teeth coming across. So that'll be the fight of Forrest versus McClernand. The other thing that's going to happen is he's still trying to salvage something. His Floyd now shows up in the theater, and he's at Cumberland City, which is off that way about 10, 12 miles as the crow flies. And Buckner comes down to see him because Buckner gets to Clarksville, and Pillow's been at Clarksville basically saying anything with a gray uniform, get on the steamboats and go to Dover. So Pillow orders Buckner's division to go to Dover. Buckner gets there late. Where's my division? I sent them to Dover. So he comes up here, sees his division, gets on a boat, goes down to Cumberland City to talk to Floyd. He's mad because Pillow took his division without his authorization, even though Pillow ranks him. And he starts working on a thing we call the Cumberland City Concentration Plan, where the Confederates leave a small garrison here, concentrate the bulk of their forces in Cumberland City. When they cross, they move out like this, and in turn strike up on the right flank, chewing up one of Grant's divisions, McClernand's division. Another great plan. So Floyd tells Buckner, excuse me, go to Donelson, get your division, bring him down here, because I've got my brigade here, and we'll use that as the anchor of the forces. So he comes up to Dover here, shows Pillow the written order authorizing to pull his division out to Cumberland City, and Pillow says, I'm countermandering that order, and I'm going to go down to Cumberland City to talk to Floyd. So he gets on a boat and goes down to Cumberland City. By the time he gets there, Floyd's gone back to Clarksville. So he comes back up and he says, I'm still your superior officer, your division's going nowhere. So Buckner is not too happy with this. Buckner is not happy with Pillow whatsoever. And what Sidney Johnson does on a strategic level, he's looking for the fighting here to be the decisive battle to save Nashville. As the campaign develops, when he sees particularly after the fall of Fort Henry what the gunboats can do, he's now looking at this as a holding action. You've got to hold Fort Donelson so the gunboats don't get up the stream to get to Nashville, because if they get to Nashville before the Army of Central Kentucky does, from Bowling Green, he's cut off. Nashville at the time was only on the south bank of the river. Now it's all over the place. There was a separate town called Edgefield right across the river. And if the gunboats get there, Sidney Johnson's cut off. And he's got to retreat way out towards Lebanon and head south to Murfreesboro from there on the road network. So that's the stakes. So now Dover becomes, and Donelson becomes, instead of the major fight to save Nashville, is a holding action until we can get across the river at Nashville and withdraw out of Middle Tennessee. One thing he tells the commanders here, by all means, do not lose the garrison. You can always recapture something, but if you lose 10,000, 12,000, in the case of the Germans at Stalingrad, 250,000 troops, that's a really dumb thing. Because these guys don't come back on the chessboard until the fall of 1862. Buckner will be back by the Kentucky campaign in August, but a lot of these troops that are here don't get exchanged till between September and early November of 1862 reorganized. So there's basically, they'll end up capturing about 13,000 Confederates here. That's 13,000 guys that didn't show up at Shiloh.
No second day.
Which meant no crushing of Grant on the first day. I mean, really crushing Grant on the first day.
No second day.
Exactly. And Grant would have been a real big try. Grant would have ended Grant's command. Which to me, Shiloh is the greatest what-if battle of the war. Because if Grant goes down and he's still in Halleck's doghouse, he'll be briefly replaced by Smith and by George Thomas. And Sherman is a Grant protege and has yet to really prove himself. This is his second battle. It was his first Bull Run. But this is his battle, first battle as a division commander. His division gets shot up. If Grant goes down, there goes Sherman. So who wins the war in 1864 for the Federals? Meade? That was a good joke. No, we were talking about this last week. Meade's capable. He's not aggressive enough. He's not going to beat Lee in 64. The only other guy you got out here is Rosecrans that's capable. You know, who knows what happens to Chattanooga, you know, how that plays out. But yeah, if you get Grant Sherman out, who knows what's going to happen in 1864, but it's not going to be how we know it. That's for sure. All right, we'll get on the bus. We'll head into the park. Oh, but before you do, turn that way. Look at that nice big grassy area right there through those trees, straight there. You see a road off to your right there. The marker is there for Grant's headquarters, the Widow Crisp House. The Widow Crisp House, in our opinion, was actually further toward the creek that way. That's too close up. There was a little two-room thing where it was a bedroom and kind of a living room kitchen thing with a lean-to, and Grant would sleep in the living room so Mrs. Crisp could retain her bedroom. So that will become Grant's headquarters during all the fighting around Dover and Donelson. 5. So when you come up and make the right kind of curve on the highway here, if you look to your left, you'll see the marker where the Widow Crisp House, which is Grant's headquarters. We actually think it was several hundred yards back towards the creek than where it is now.
Where's the marker? Don't see it. I guess it's up there, I guess. I guess so.
There's mighty Buckner Street, all like 15 yards of it. If you come down here on your own, this elementary school to the right has a water tower up on the ridge. If you get up on the ridge, you get a really good view of Fort Donelson, the park, and you kind of get an idea of the road network in the area. That's the road down to the maintenance area. Smith's Division will take the ridge on the left. They'll deploy along that ridge to your left there, and they're tying their left flank with Hickman Creek. There's the town of Dover adding to its city treasury. No. Land to your left is Civil War Preservation, or no, Civil War Trust property. They just bought it, and it hasn't been added to the park yet. This park is almost double in size thanks to the Civil War Trust. Particularly the fighting at Dudley's Hill, which is where the Confederate breakout attack took place. When I take Army staff rides here, we actually refight the Battle of Dudley's Hill. I've got placards for every regiment that was there. I form them up in their actual column formations according to the parse maps, and we do a stop-start thing. It runs about an hour and a half to teach modern soldiers what linear tactics were back in those days. Just stay straight up. Plus, it's kind of fun to tell colonels and majors what to do. I always apologize profusely for assigning somebody Gideon Pillow, and I say somebody's got to be Gideon Pillow. Oh, I'm the staff ride facilitator, is the official title. I'm the referee.
I mean, you're such a flyer of the guy.
Oh, absolutely. I got posters up in my house. A lot of dark holes. This is the Confederate Soldiers Monument. One of two southern monuments on the park. We'll see the other one, which is the Texas Monument to the 7th Texas Infantry, one of whose company commanders was a guy named Hiram Granberry. You'll hear more about him when you see Mr. Cartwright over the next couple of days, because he's going to be killed at Franklin. We'll interpret all this stuff that we're seeing here, the big ravine to the left, and this is the second Confederate line after Smith breaks through on our way back. Now we're on the historic Eddyville Road. The Eddyville Road curved left and ran down behind what Buckner's position originally was, and I'll show you where it curved towards the town of Dover. So when you look at a map of this from the official records atlas or something, you see Eddyville Road. You are on the Eddyville Road. In the 1920s. This is one of the class of 20s. There's Stones River here, Kennesaw. A couple of them. So, yeah, here we go. Unfortunately for Stones River, they never got more than 20% of the battle. Now it's also developed it. So we were going through to go to Atlanta last week. We drove by the Kroger store on Highway 96, and I mentioned the Patrick Claiborne Kroger store because that's where Claiborne's division moved into line of battle. Made their day. 4,000 guys stopped in, bought Coke and stuff, sandwiches. Okay, this is not the road that went into Fort Donelson at the time. It was down in the valley off to our right. This is actually Fort Donelson. So you have Fort Donelson, and then you have the outer works. It is now an eagle sanctuary because a number of years ago some nesting eagles moved in, took over the place. They have chicks every year. Which is why when one of the cabins fell down a couple years ago, they can't rebuild it.
Is this outer works here?
No, this is Fort Donelson. The outer works are out that way. No, we're inside Fort Donelson now. No. The valley to our right would have been loaded with a minimum of 400 log cabins for the winter quarters for the 3 regiments that will be garrisoning Fort Donelson proper.
Right, why can't they rebuild a cabin?
Because if you see right next to it, you see it's now an eagle boundary. That cabin's inaccurate anyway. Turn left here. And there's a pullover coming up. Now that the nesting eagles moved in, you can't do things within those boundaries over there.
Unless you're in Louisville where they're building a bridge right next to it.
Yeah.
Out on the river road.
Oh, look, we have some eagle watchers. The people that come out of the magnificent cameras are the eagle watchers. Yeah, they moved their nest. There's. Oh, that's a new nest. Their other nests were actually out in the valley. And what you're looking at is the upper water battery here, and I'll explain those to you in a little bit. They must have had chicks. I think it's right around this time. These have 1 to 2 a year. All right, we will dismount here. We'll go out on the little deck right here. The old ones in the valley. Yeah, you can see
He's watching here.
We, when I had my last Army staff ride out here, we ate in the picnic area down there and we burgers and stuff. And we were about 10 feet off, about 1 trees over the scale. Right there, we ate on the treetop bunch.